where is the problem actually? Is it the skill set? Is it the time pressure? Or is it the awareness? Where is the problem?
Attackers are always evolving rapidly. I personally believe a traditional pen test will not be able to solve the challenges. Better than a traditional pen test, I recommend organizations to opt for CTEM. So generative AI is a buzzword right now. So it's a rat and mouse game, I would say.
I see a lot of passion on the service you do. Keep it up. And Finesse is doing a fantastic job in cybersecurity domain in the region. Hi Sahil, how are you?
Sunil, I'm doing great. What about you?
All good, all good. I've been waiting for a long time to personally meet you and hear from you because from various sources I've heard your fantastic work you have done in the domain of the teaming. You are an OSCP, you were a bounty hunter earlier, and your contribution to the space of the domain is very valuable. And I'm taking this opportunity to understand more on how the entire environment is changing up, because penetration testing, vulnerability management, all of this space is been stagnant for a very, very long time. And because we were just running the tools, we were taking the report out, whether they patch or not is a different question. It is a combined students activity. So many players with limited tool knowledge is playing in the market. You are creating a much bigger differentiation in that space. And it will be helpful to understand for me academically and also to be our audience to see your perspective on that. And also you represent Finesse here. Finesse is doing a fantastic job in cybersecurity domain in the region. Whether it is artificial intelligence, security operations center, the governance, the red teaming activity, penetration testing, you have your own signature done very well there. So based on that thing, I'm taking the liberty to ask a few questions so that we can all have a better understanding of how things are changing.
Absolutely, Sunil. So first of all, it is my pleasure to be sitting here with you today. I have been also waiting for a very long time to have this discussion, to have this podcast. First of all, Finesse has been in this industry for quite a long time now. We have done a lot of engagements, I would say, with a lot of our customers coming from BFSI sectors, banking, finance, insurance companies, and not just limited to the BFSI, but we are having a lot of other customers as well from healthcare sector as well. A lot of hospitals we have recently engaged with, and we are performing the pen testing and red teaming activities for them. So as you rightly said, what has been happening in the industry nowadays, that everybody is going for a traditional pen test. Everywhere you see companies are opting for a traditional pen test, a one-time activity. Once they get done with it, and they don't repeat it until the next year or maybe quarterly. So this is something, it's a one-time activity, but what's the impact of that? So what I would like to tell you is that attackers are always evolving rapidly. The threat landscape is changing enormously. So every day you will see some new CVs, some new tactics, some new techniques, tools being released, and hackers exploiting a lot of vulnerabilities in products. Like I would say Fortinet, SSL, VPN products, they are being widely used by companies nowadays since we have started the remote working. And a lot of other networking devices as well, like the printers, the IPTVs, whatever has been connected to internet since the time the internet began, 2001 and 2002, since we saw the rise of internet. Since that time, everything is slowly and steadily getting digitalized. And right now, there's a boom of IoT and OT devices as well that we have seen. So what I personally believe, a traditional pen test will not be able to solve the challenges that have been arriving, recently, and how attackers are getting matured day by day. So I would say, better than a traditional pen test, I recommend organizations to opt for CTEM. So what do you mean by CTEM? It's a continuous threat exposure management. So in that, what we basically do, we start with the discovery of all the assets of the organizations. We do a prioritization of all the critical assets. And then we start with the VA scanning, attack surface management, breach attack simulation, and VA scans. So it is all together, we combine all these activities, we perform all this testing and identify vulnerabilities and make risk scores.
So Sahil, one is a very important point because you are talking from a shift from one-time activity to a continuous activity. And that's where, even if you look at Zero Trust, they are also emphasizing this lot, saying continuous detection and mitigation activity, or the CDM part of it, which is very, very relevant on that. But one broader question is that traditionally, I'm using the word traditionally because I've been seeing penetration testing for the last 20 years at least. Okay. Directly, indirectly, I was involved with so much of penetration testing or vulnerability management programs. Earlier, it was that we have one application or we have a perimeter. It comes for a testing, we put it on the staging, and then it's very clear, we know exactly which target to touch. And it's a simple architecture, go ahead and do it and look for the common vulnerabilities and then do activity. Now, we are talking about APIs inside the cloud, heterogeneous cloud, completely different environment or a terrain, I would call it, which is too complicated, interconnected, third parties are there involved, lot of components which may or may not be directly in our control. So when such an environment comes into picture, how do you look at that and say where to start, or how do you scope it? So before that, or adjustment to that, how does a customer or a stakeholder come to you saying that what they should test? Are they asking to assess one application, or they look at the entire service ecosystem, or they look at you use the word attack surface management, they look at their attack surface to be reviewed? How does the customer prioritize and create a requirement? And how do you scope it and to handle it in the right approach?
Okay, that's a very good question, Sunil. So there are two sets of customers. I will divide them into two different categories. One will be that are aware about all their ecosystem, their architecture, network architecture, infrastructure of their organization, and that have set up a proper cyber framework, I would say. And they are aware of all the critical assets in their organization. And maybe they have been doing BAPT before they try to reach out to us. The other segment of customers are, that are clueless. Basically, whenever we set up calls with the customers and our sales teams are there, the first question they will ask is, they will give us details about their environment, right? About their asset inventory, about these kind of servers they have, network devices, security devices. They will give us all the information. But they are not sure how to analyze the security posture of all their assets. How to basically assess based on a threat model. They don't even have a threat model sometimes. So this is basically two segments, or I would say categories of customers. So coming back to the first category, so the customers that are already aware, right, about their assets. Maybe it's a hybrid model. Maybe they're already on cloud, AWS, Azure, or GCP, or they're completely on-prem, or they are hybrid. So we first ask them these kind of details, like how your infra is set up. Is it a cloud-based? Is it like, how is the model of deployment? Once we get that details, then we basically have a set of long questions that we will ask them, which includes like, is it a regulatory requirement? How big is your infrastructure? What are the critical business assets in the infrastructure? And we will explain them and tell them in detail about the services that we offer when it comes to network pen testing, web application pen testing, mobile pen testing. If they are hosted on cloud, then cloud pen testing will be there. IoT, OT pen testing, Wi-Fi pen testing if they are having any Wi-Fi devices, IPTV pen testing in case they have some IPTV devices, just like Etisalat, they have their own IPTV devices. Source code reviews if they are publishing any sort of thick client source code applications. So apart from that, if they have an Active Directory environment as well, so we can also tell them you can go for a red teaming engagement. So in red teaming, basically we go inside the environment, we perform a breach attack simulation, and we identify vulnerabilities.
So during that initial discussion phase or a planning phase, you are agreeing upon saying that what are the core assets or the services which need to be assessed first, and then prioritize based on that to look at or based on the interconnectivities, and then decide on saying how to approach on it.
Exactly.
I think that's a great approach. But earlier you mentioned that there are customers who clearly understands what they own and how their structure is. But my understanding that may be a very small percentage.
Yeah.
And it may be difficult for them. So who is your stakeholder? Is it the CISO? Is it the audit team, or is it who actually is your stakeholder from customer side? Who interacts with you?
It depends on the structure of their organization. If they have a CISO in their organization, we sometimes may be directly interacting with the CISO, but there's sometimes maybe a SPOC who will be from the application team or who will be from the infrastructure team. So I highly suggest, a SPOC should be from a technical, I would say, team first. So whenever we are starting the engagement and we are engaging with those team members, there should be a guy who is technically sound.
The reason I asked is when you ask long questions back to them to understand a discovery phase or a profiling phase of it, they may not have the full answers to your questions.
Yeah.
So do you also have the capability to map yourself, because you may be typically doing a profiling of the customer based on their environment, what is known in public domain, so take an example, if they are already being breached, how much of data is already available, how much of passwords are available. So you may be doing a lot of profiling on that customers and the technology they use. So you also, in case if the customer cannot give the complete information, your profiling activity will collect all of that thing before you start the process, right?
Exactly. So as I mentioned, there is one part that is called red teaming, and there's another activity that is pen testing. So we clearly tell them if we are going for a red teaming. So in red teaming, we don't need any details. It is not scoped at all.
Correct.
The blue team is not involved. We will be starting just by the name of a company. That is all we need. And then we will start performing attack surface management, like enumerating all the assets, open services, and vulnerable services, servers, machines that are exposed on the internet and dark web. We try to dig deeper and do digital profiling of the organization's assets, its subsidiaries, more recon on its employees, on its services that are exposed, right? So that is one way of approaching this engagement.
So that's great. So even if the customer, the way I understand that is, even if the customer is not engaging you for a red teaming activity, but as a prerequisite for the normal penetration testing you do have the capability, you leverage that capability to do the discovery part of it.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So that actually has helped us in a lot of scenarios where we have preemptively told customer that, we are having this kind of information that we find can be useful to you and can impact your organization if it is leaked or gets in the hands of wrong people. These kind of data leaks, we start researching for these kind of things earlier. And once we find anything, useful or that can have an impact on their organization from a security perspective, we are always helping them out. We clearly send them the details. It has also become, USP for us that this is something we have been doing for all our engagements. And also it has given, I would say, assurance to the customer that, we can trust Finesse and we can...
No, I fully agree because Finesse being a cybersecurity focused company, you have the red teaming activities and all of that thing. So, sorry, threat intel team and all of that thing. A lot of such information is readily available for you to leverage on that. Because why I asked that question is that if an adversarial person or a group has information, a leaked information with them, multiple cyber kill chains, they can make it faster. Say recon, they don't have to do much because there's already information readily available. They know exactly what is the vulnerability to exploit it without much of a problem. So at least 50% of their time required for an attack can be reduced. And you as a partner going to a customer can help that in a much bigger way.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the pressing questions people are now worried or trying to understand from experts like you is that now artificial intelligence is going to come is in the market. It's a reality. It's all around us. ChatGPT 5 released last night. And in that scenario, how do you see from so we need to look at the two sides. One is from adversarial side. One is from the defenders or the penetration testers or teaming group. How do you look at, say, because when adversarials are using in tools leveraging artificial intelligence, which can bypass EDR and a lot of things, can be accurate, can go for a bigger scope, a broader scope, and more faster. How do you look at from your side? How do you develop your skills or the tool set or the process to handle this environment?
Okay, that's a great question, Sunil. So, as we are now in the AI age, I would say, so generative AI is a buzzword right now. And it's not just a buzzword, but practically everybody is implementing their own, generative AI solutions, data centers, they're setting it up. And everywhere I see every company is investing heavily in it. And they are coming up with their own models. Like in cybersecurity, particularly, what I have seen, people are getting familiarized with the one concept called as MCP. So it's a model context protocol. So there is this kind of protocol. It's a company Anthropic that they have released this protocol MCP. So using MCP, what you can do is you can connect your agents, AI agents, and generative AI tools to your pen testing tools. So it sorts of sets up a bridge between the pen testing tools and the generative AI. So what you can do is, let's say you want to do a recon on an organization, find some assets, find some information about an organization. You can just go to this MCP, Cloud A platform. You can put your query there. It will analyze that information and it will, take the output from your tool and start analyzing it. So it's basically bridges the gap and connectivity between the automated pen test tools and the prompts, basically, that we give to the AI.
And I understand that you are also developing a lot of in-house tools. And surely that is maybe one of the reasons people say a lot about Finesse when it comes to the cybersecurity expertise.
Exactly.
So now earlier you mentioned about the continuous assessment part. Now earlier, why I use the word earlier is that I've been in this industry for 30 years. So I've seen the evolution, how things are changing over the time. Earlier, once we develop an application and once the service goes, and most of them are static, the changes happens very rarely. Maybe say annually one change happens. Now that's not the scenario. We are in an agile environment or a model where changes are happening fast. At a component level, service levels, we are doing it. So a lot is changing on the software or the application on a continuous basis. Now, typically, as a compliance requirement or a regulatory requirement, customer will come to you and say, "Oh, I have an annual penetration testing requirement. Do it for me." And I understand talking to you earlier is that is changing now. Customers are coming and engaging you, saying that be with me as a partner all through the journey. So whenever we do a change, the change on the architecture, the change on the code, the change on the environment will be published to you, where you can assess and tell us what additional, in case if they don't have a threat modeling team with them or architectural team, and then you assess on that. That service is actually customers are picking in a big way, right?
Yes, that is true. So they expect us to, basically once we identify the vulnerabilities for them, and once we do a penetration testing, and not just a traditional pen test, as I already mentioned, we are spreading this awareness to our customers, even through security awareness trainings as well. That you should go for a CTM, as I already discussed before, and through that CTM, we can have proof of concept that how much risk has been reduced throughout the continuous assessment. Right, before a traditional pen test used to give results one time, and after 3 months again that pen test will happen, right? So that gap of 3 months could be something that attacker can use to his advantage, and during that time he can exploit the organization, right? So what it does is CTM, it bridges this gap. So continuously when we are generating results, vulnerabilities for the organizations, so we are making sure that we submit these results to the SOC teams, we get the stakeholders involved, we prioritize the risk for them. We are not just submitting vulnerabilities on any random domains, random assets. We just using our automation tools and our own skill set, our experience, we prioritize the vulnerabilities, their risks, what is important to them, what they need to address, what are the critical challenges, what are the SLAs, how do we need to mitigate them, and what kind of solutions we can provide them. Not just
so either they go for a mitigation or they go for a compensating control at that point of time.
Exactly.
On that. So now, a slightly controversial question, or not a controversial, it's a sideline question. If you look at for ages, the OWASP list of top 10 is almost the same. And you've been doing this for a very long time. What is your experience? We are seeing the same SQL injection, cross-site scriptings, and still continuing. Where is the problem actually? Is it the skill set? Is it the time pressure? Or is it the awareness? Where is the problem?
Okay. So what I believe is people are following these standards for a very long time, and I believe we need to get out of that sort of documentation mindset and theoretical mindset. We need to, and I truly believe we have the skilled individuals that have the cognitive abilities to go beyond just the test cases that are documented. OS was something that was created by an organization, a person himself, right? It is not something we need to restrict ourselves to. Our imagination as a human being, the cognitive skills we have, the kind of intellectual mindset we have, I have seen in individuals now, upcoming and hackers nowadays, they really go out of the box and they analyze the application in such a way, and I have seen people identifying such vulnerabilities that I could have never imagined. Like out of the box, they have found such critical vulnerabilities. Even in Finesse, our team members, in some of the banking and healthcare customers, they have identified something that OS would have never covered it, even how many iterations they would have gone through. So that is something I think where the exposure comes in place, and that mindset comes in place. That we need to adapt to.
So, in my understanding, you also do a lot of work in educating and creating awareness or hand-holding developers to build secured applications. Now, the very part why I ask that is, now APIs are a major component. 85% of all attacks, we say it's web-based applications or web-based because that's the maximum exposed to the internet. Okay. Now we have APIs over there, and I don't know whether we have taken the same seriousness on APIs. Okay, because a lot of vulnerability exists, but are the people really building it in a secure way? People really testing it in the right manner? It's a question mark. Now artificial intelligence is coming into the picture. Okay, there also codes are there. People are downloading from Pastebins and GitHubs and all of that thing and reusing a lot of components. And we have no idea where the vulnerability is. When Log4j came into the picture, the biggest worry was nobody had a clue where this is used. Okay, it took a long time. That's why, although it was a small code, it took a long time to get control of it. Now, the mindset of the developers, the continuous testing, all are becoming extremely critical in the new world. Because earlier, an application was more of a static page for an advertisement or marketing reasons. Now it is your revenue stream. Your core applications are running over there. So you cannot afford to have a compromise at that level. So your domain or your contribution to this domain is becoming extremely important. Now, another question is that we spoke about the stakeholders earlier. When you generate a report or a finding, do you actually go back to the different stakeholders? An example, do you go back to the architecture team or the red team, the threat modeling team, and tell them, say, look, there are some scenarios you totally missed out, or you did not put enough control on your architecture, which may need an adjustment or a rework, because you have seen it, how an adversarial simulation, through the adversarial simulation, how you could come in. So you have an insight you can share to them. And then you can actually go back to the SOC and say, hey, you never understood that you were coming. Okay, this is so they can update their playbook or their skill set specifically on those type of attack. There may be different stakeholder groups within the organization who can actually partner with penetration testing team or teams like with Finesse and improve their security maturity. Traditionally, we have never seen that happen. Because there is a combined structure. When you ask for a penetration testing report, you get the report, God knows whether you act on it or not. But the checklist is checked saying that, okay, I done the penetration testing. But that type of engagement, I know Finesse is very keenly working with your customers to do that thing. Do you see that and the customers are changing their mindset and collaborating better?
Yes. So what I have understood is once we get started with the engagement with the customer, the before the engagement actually starts, we try to gather as much data as we can about the data leaks on the dark web and the open web. through all the available, commercial services and the free open source services. And that is the data we go up to them and we present to the stakeholders. We tell them, it's something that we have found before the engagement has started, right? So this is what an attacker can do, right? He won't wait for the engagement to start. He won't wait for the auditor to audit your environment, an internal auditor to check the reports, if the grammatical mistakes are rectified or not, if the severity color is proper or not. These kind of things, auditor will look for it, right? But what if in case a breach happens? We try to tell them the importance of the data that is lying around on the internet and the dark web.
That part is a prerequisite, I agree. Now, post that, when you are doing the testing, you manage to get into the organization's infrastructure. So you know how you came into picture, you know where all you saw the vulnerabilities. So that also gets shared in two phases, right? One is the pre and then the post. Based on that data, how you could exploit, so you educate them in the right manner.
Exactly. So we try to have as much security awareness trainings as we can. We try to spend as much time as we can with the application developers, the infrastructure teams. We have recurring calls with them. We have debrief calls. We explain them. If they don't understand in one meeting, we will have multiple meetings. We go back and forth. We ask for the documentation. We don't just stop at the security assessment. We ask for the architecture diagrams, SOPs. We analyze their network architecture fully, like how the machines are communicating to each other, how the databases are communicating to the application servers, how the cloud infrastructure is set up, how the OT segment is segmented properly from the IT segment. We evaluate their whole security posture, not just by looking at a set of assets, but completely analyzing their whole ecosystem by getting into detailed calls with the network architecture team as well, not just the application.
That's a great, because that's what is required currently in the market, because you touched the engineering team also. Take an example, we have a WAF or we have an IPS, but that particular signature may not be in a block mode. But you know exactly what you used. You can actually go back to them and say, just make sure that that signature is blocked because advisory uses it. Now, before we conclude, let me I know your time is pressing for you also. So much of engagements happening. There is an ethical dilemma. One is from your academic interest, from a penetration testers enthusiasm. Where do you stop or put a boundary saying you understood that it's exploitable and you have the capability to leverage zero-day vulnerabilities to exploit? You have your own tools to penetrate in very unconventional ways. So do you agree with the customer that this is your boundary, you're going to stop and give the evidence out there? How does it work?
Okay, so for some of the customers, it's a time-bound engagements. Some customers will come up to us and say, like, we have to complete the assessment in 10 days. It's an audit requirement. Urgently, they need the reports to be released and reviewed. But for some of the customers who are engaging with us for a long-term engagement, like let's say monthly or 2 months engagement, in which they give us the full access, full authority, that you go inside, you get inside as much as you can. We just want to check the strength, the security defenses that we have in place. Are they working according to the standards or not? Let it be the WAF, or it can be the perimeter firewall, or it can be any proxy filters, DNS filters like Blue Coat, or any web-based security solutions. They want to actually check the defense mechanism, how they prevent the phishing from happening. So let's say recently we conducted a phishing engagement for one of our customers, banking customer, and we were able to bypass some of the email gateway solutions that they were using. I won't be able to name the solutions, but we were able to customize our own payloads with the help of AI, the in-house AI, LLM models that we have developed, along with the automated AI models that are already existing in the market. We were able to develop polymorphic payloads that were able to continuously communicate with the OpenAI APIs, and in the stealth way, we were able to bypass those defenses. So it's a rat and mouse game, I would say, honestly. Like there's no end to how much deeper you can go inside, because there is always security as a obscurity. I've always believed in that it's a myth. Security has always been a myth for me. You can always bypass any kind of defenses that are there. So we always tell organizations to give us plenty of time to assess and evaluate their security defenses.
So I think that's one of the fundamental problems also, because traditionally when tools are running, the adversaries also knows exactly these are the tools capability to do it. They have tested that. They know exactly you are going to stop it. You at Finesse is trying a lot which is not this tool driven. It is manually in-depth activities based on your own tools and 0 days you have built on that. That's why it creates a lot of value also there. Before we conclude, I am very excited about to know more about one of the services you are doing, which I think in another session we will go deep. The Purple service, where what my understanding is this way. Many organizations are struggling to understand the maturity or capability or of their SOC. The question is that because it's all theoretically you can do it, but not on. They need an adversarial simulation happening. My understanding from Finesse, you will actually become that adversarial simulation party, and the SOC can look at saying that in different stages. How much with limited information, full details, saying that are they detecting on time, is it aligned with your time-based security design, or are they really detecting, are they able to contain it, are they able to even categorize and classify it in the right manner, saying what type of attack is actually coming out, and so based on that they can either improve their process, the playbook, or the skill set. And I think that's a great service you are doing in the industry, in the market.
Exactly. I believe so. The more people are becoming aware about the purple teaming, the more they should be adopting it, because it is the best approach for any organization, right? If we are working in sync with the SOC team, that will help their defense capabilities to also improve, right? It's not just we are penetrating inside and we are giving them a report that this is how we laterally moved inside. We escalated privileges. We got the domain admin. We are now, we got access to your shares or sensitive data inside the environment. That should not be the case. We should ideally be coordinating with the purple SOC team as well, helping them improve their alerts, how they are receiving the alerts. Are they properly getting the alerts in their SIM tools? Are they able to improve their detection rules? So there's something called as detection rules, Sigma rules, Yara rules. We should be ideally be able to help them in creating more detection rules based on our advanced and custom payloads, right? So as you already rightly said, we are developing our in-house payloads and techniques so that usually we don't have signatures for it readily available. So what SOC teams can come into the picture, and actually we can submit those samples to them and they can make detection rules based on that. So that can create a very nice impact and help the defense mechanisms to improve.
I see a lot of passion on the service you do. Keep it up, and thank you very much for your valuable time, Sahil. It's a great meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Anything to add from your side? How do you see overall this domain picking up, or the people taking more seriousness to this?
So, see, in the GCC region, I have seen like a lot of companies are, to be honest with you, really rely on the cybersecurity frameworks and regulatory requirements. Just for the sake of an audit, companies are going for a pen test or a red teaming engagement. But what I believe personally is that the cost of a data breach is much more than the cost of just doing a pen test to just make the auditors happy, right? So once they go for a data breach, once something like that happens for an organization, the cost and the fines and lot of things the stakeholders have to go through, that can be very challenging. So I honestly believe from my personal experience that we should stop with the traditional mindset and we should, go with the adversarial threat emulation, purple teaming, and zero trust and all these kind of, new technologies and new methodologies, which we should start adopting them and using them in our day-to-day engagements.
So I agree with that, but there is a other side also in reality. Many stakeholders struggle to understand the value of penetration testing for a very long time, because the approach was a person who has zero understanding of the software development will become a penetration tester. and they will get the URL, the credentials, everything into a tool, and the tool runs, a report comes, the report gives to them. That's how it was worked out, and nobody found the value. So that's why I said I see a lot of passion. I see a lot of real work being done. So all the very best for that, Sahil, and I'll keep on following you and taking update to see how because it's quite exciting the way you are changing the space.
Thank you so much, Sunil. It was wonderful to talk to you. I was long waiting for this session, and a lot of valuable insights we have shared with everybody
Same here.
today. And I would hope to connect with you soon, and we'll sit again and discuss more about the upcoming and emerging technologies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Sunil.